What's up, everyone? This is Hemi from airsoft. I had my scar break on me on my last game. The rifle would only shoot maybe one or two BBs, then the bolt would not fully engage or disengage or return. In this video, I will troubleshoot the problem and see what we can figure out. So when I would retract the charging handle, it would not fully return to the closed position. So remove the lower receiver, remove the rear buttstock, remove the charging handle, and then slide out the bolt and bolt carrier. Sorry for the poor lighting on this. I got some new lights coming soon. Yeah, so as I see here now, the nozzle does not return or is not moving fluently. It's getting hung up by something. I see that the O-ring on the nozzle itself was actually split inside of the bolt carrier, or inside of the bolt. Now it slides freely like it should. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that. First thing I'm going to do is remove the nozzle spring retaining pin. Just use the correct size punch. It doesn't take too much force. You shouldn't have to pound the hell out of it. Okay, so that releases the spring. You don't have to pull the pin out all the way. Next, you're going to have to remove one of two plastic nozzle guides. This one here is the first one that I will remove. Phillips screw. I use a small, not a punch, but I don't even know what it's called, but something small enough, not a screwdriver or anything like that, something very small. Remove the first guide, set that aside. Your next nozzle guide will be underneath the bolt carrier, so remove both Allen screws on top of the bolt carrier. Set those aside once removed. That will expose the next nozzle guide. It has two Phillips screwdriver screws on each side of it. Remove carefully and set aside. Use the same tool that you removed the first guide to do this one as well. They both have slots on the barrel side of the gun to remove them. Now the nozzle is removed from the bolt. Make sure that, and there's the busted O-ring. Make sure that there's nothing gonna cause any problems around that O-ring seal area. Go ahead and replace with your new O-ring. Make sure everything's on there good. Easiest way I figured out to do this is to set the bolt vertically like that, align the spring in the orientation for the pin, push the pin in, make sure that your spring is, the pin is connected to the spring. Make sure it engages correctly, or you'll put it back in your gun and it won't work, obviously, which is frustrating. So once you've confirmed that everything feels good, go ahead and work in reverse. Replace both of the plastic nozzle guides. Make sure it's seated in real good. Make sure everything's lined up with the nozzle. Pretty self-explanatory when you're doing it. Now with these screws, you're working with real small stuff. You do not need to put a lot of torque on it. Usually I will put the blue color thread locker Loctite on these. If they loosen up, then obviously your gun will not operate. Your nozzle will come out of position and get jammed up. We see that a lot with the WE PDW. When the guide comes out of place, it will jam up the bolt. Again, do not over tighten, just make sure it's snug. At this point, replace the bolt carrier. Make sure that the nozzle spring pin is flush and not protruding out in any way, because that will catch inside your bolt slide area. Now you can replace your bolt carrier with the 2 Allen screws. Again, you can use a little bit of blue Loctite on these. You don't need to use the red Loctite on them. Just, something to put a little bit of squeeze on them. So I usually use the blue stuff. Works really good. Working on the stock components, you do not want to over tighten any of this. A lot of it is real cheap pot metal, and it will break, or if you over tighten it, it will break in use, and you'll have a big problem. You have to replace all of it. Replace the bolt and bolt carrier back into the upper receiver. Replace the charging handle. Make sure all is installed correct. Replace the spring, or the recoil spring. Replace the rear buttstock, as so. Replace the lower receiver, and there you go. Back in business. And that's how you get it done. This is Hemi from Ashcom. We'll see you guys soon.